Hello Pisces, welcome to Dove and Serpent Tarot. My name is Paul. If Pisces is your sun, moon, or rising sign, this is your tarot card reading. Remember to hit the like button, leave a comment, consider subscribing to the channel, especially if this reading resonates with you. These readings are totally free. If there is anything you would like me to pray over, or meditate upon, or send positive energy toward, please let me know. Now, this is a general reading, so try to be open and receptive to whatever may come through during our time together. I am merely the messenger, and I ask you to connect directly with each of these cards and use your own intuition to take you beyond the details that I provide. And remember, Pisces, that the most important part of any tarot reading is you. And we have the Queen of Cups. You don't manifest what you want, you manifest what you are. Okay? And I think that we are searching ourselves deeply. I think you're very in touch with your emotions, you're very in touch with what you want and what's going on sort of beneath the veil, right? Under the covers of our external persona and reality. You really are in touch with who you are inside. Okay, Spirit's saying something about you lose track of your water bottles or something like that, or you have your water is missing, or something along these lines. Don't be afraid of endings, Pisces. Don't be afraid of transformation. Okay, I feel like you're using your internal nature as fuel for your growth. Okay, Spirit's saying that your inspired action is sacred movement in your life right now. Okay, and you're using, I'm hearing that like you're using your flaws for growth. Okay, let's put this card into a little bit of context. Let's see what is going on in your life right now. Are you healing some childhood wounds right now? Okay, here we have a Knight of Wands. We have the Eight of Pentacles. We have a Two of Cups, a Six of Swords, and a Three of Swords. Over here we have a Four of Pentacles, we have the High Priestess, we have an Eight of Swords, and we have a Knight of Pentacles, fire and earth. Okay, fire and earth here. Of course you have your typical Aries reference in the reading with the Knight of Wands. That's an Aries power card. Let's select the mystery card, bonus card, confirmation card. This is a random card from the Smith-Waite Tarot. This is the factor infinite and unknown. And we're going to set that down right here with Alien Simon Moore Cripley right there on top. We're not going to look at that card until the very end, but it will tie everything together and it will give us the confirmation that we need at the end of the reading. If at any point during this message you feel like you might know what that card could be, put your prediction in the comments down below. Now, as we look around the room, we see just the one major arcana. We see fire, we see some water, we see some air, and we see some earth cards. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3 air, 1, 2, 3 earth. And I think that's significant, okay, because this is about how our thinking could interfere with our progress here right now, our future. Okay, Spirit's telling me that you cannot heal what you refuse to acknowledge. So this is kind of us finding what is deep within us, acknowledging what is going on under the surface of the waters, right? And taking action. Inspired action is sacred movement. Okay, what triggers you, and what does that mean? Okay, Spirit's saying that you are doing, you were going to an open mic, or you're going to do an open mic, or there's something about you sort of standing up and speaking. You're like saying your piece almost, right? I don't know if it's about like poetry, or if you're going to do some kind of like literally an open mic kind of thing. I feel like you have something to say, and you're sort of gearing up to say it. Okay. And then still that idea of misplacing something, the water bottle or something like that. Yeah. Down beneath the surface with the Eight of Pentacles, this is a card of growth, this is a card of patience. I think that we are looking to remove those things or confront those things in our life that might be preventing our growth. Because if we want to have, the future that we desire, the future that we dream of, we have to look at those things that might be sort of interfering with the process. The weeds that might be choking out what we're really truly trying to grow. Okay? Your authenticity is going to speed up the process for you. Okay? So I think that with the Queen of Cups, it could be that there have been things that we have been not really recognizing in ourselves. Okay? Those buttons, those triggers, those knots of karma, right? Those complexes, the blockages, right? I think that this is us lifting the veil and acknowledging what some of our blockages, what some of our issues, what some of our baggage is, so that we can then do something about that. We can sort of sublimate them. We can turn them into fuel for growth, right? The message from Spirit is that you need to embrace your inner fire and that spark of your consciousness with this fiery, Knight of Wands here. We need to mobilize ourselves. We need to embrace this Aries energy. We need to believe in ourselves. And we need to have the confidence and the courage to face what is in front of us. And what's in front of you right now is this Saturn in Libra energy, this Three of Swords. These are the complexes. These are the blockages and the knots of karma. That's exactly what these are, right? And these are very often related to the past. And what do you have in the past but the Two of Cups? Love, okay? Is one of your blockages, does it have to do with the way we were loved? Does it have to do with a fear of love? Where do you resist emotional vulnerability? Where is our past experience with love and connection, togetherness, family maybe, support, maybe, right, mutual respect and encouragement, that sort of thing. This doesn't have to be romantic love. This could be family love, divine love, platonic love, self-love. Where are we experiencing a blockage now that has to do with the way that we've experienced love in the past? Okay? Because that's the work that we need to do right now. And fire and water together are going to make some steam. They're going to make some air. Okay? It's gonna be a challenge to face all of this, right? But to face this abyss is the only way through it. Okay? And maybe the Eight of Pentacles is asking, what is at the root of this resistance now? What are the main blockages that we have to overcome that might be sort of choking out the growth, that might be inhibiting or prohibiting the full expansion, the full embracing of our future, and the full manifestation of whatever our long-term goals are? See, we got the Knight of Pentacles in the future. This is your destiny, right? Is to understand how to get to the top of the mountain and to get yourself there, right? So this is the card that's saying you have a future different than what you imagined. So I feel like this is a renewal of that vision of our future. Now, there's a smell that Spirit's referencing. I don't know what it is. It's some kind of a flowery kind of smell that really brings you back, like a vivid memory, of your childhood or something. There's some kind of a smell that does that for you, right? The Six of Swords up here at the top feels to me like we thought our life was going to be a certain way. Okay, like maybe we have a plan for life. Like this is the life I want, to go from point A to point B. That's my goal. That's my climb up the mountain, right? But it feels like something is blocking us from getting all the way up there. Like we have the plan. I know what to do. I know the route. I've got the directions. But something isn't letting the car go. It's like I put it in gear, but the car still won't drive forward. Something is tangling up something. Something is short-circuiting. Something is interfering with the drivetrain or something, right? Something is seized up. And that's the blockage that we have to untie right now, right? Because having the plan is one thing, yeah. And I think this is very, very well thought out. You're probably a very organized kind of person. But I feel like sometimes we let these deeper emotional energies drag us down. And even though we have the plan, and it seems theoretically easy, I have the plan and I just follow the directions. You ever meet somebody like that, where you give them perfect directions how to get to your house and somehow they get lost? Somehow they call you hours later and say, I can't find it. You can have the map, but then we can still get sort of lost along the way, or feel that way. Or maybe we've made a wrong turn and we're not sure how to get back to where we've been, or something has, something has blocked our way, and maybe in the past, we've met with this blockage, and instead of unraveling it and working through it, we've turned in a different direction, and then we've sort of gotten a little bit lost, So the Three of Swords is what we need to go through, and it's not always going to be a pleasant experience, okay? But these are those usually unconscious complexes that as soon as we make them conscious, as soon as we are aware of them, as soon as we can lift the veil and we can look at them, then we can choose a different course of action. We can choose to not let the complex take us over, okay? And no one can do this for us. We must face our own shadows here if we want to continue with this growth. Okay? I don't think that you've given up on the plan. I don't think that you've given up on yourself or given up on your growth. But I think that when we're confronted with these obstacles, this darkness, these shadows, I think we tend to either stop or we end up going in a different direction. We end up turning back. It's like this is something that we have not been able to get past yet. Okay? And it has to do with the way we've experienced love in the past, or support, or encouragement, or the bonds between people, family, friends, that sort of thing. It's almost as if we're not fully trusting love anymore, Or there's something that is maybe blocking us from fully experiencing this. The Three of Swords feels like an anchor. I'm seeing an image of an anchor. Or if somebody has an anchor tattoo or something like that, but I'm seeing, or maybe it's some kind of a wall decoration, but there's like literally an anchor, okay? And it kind of prevents us from moving around. We can sort of swim in a circle, we can drive the boat in a circle, but if we're anchored somewhere to the bottom, then we have to sort of dive down and find out what that anchor is so that we can detach it. If we need to bring it, if we need to haul it up to the surface and put it on the boat, fine. We'd rather not do that. It's extra weight we don't need. If we can cut it loose, that's better. But as long as it's not so tangled up down there in the depths that we can't move, I think we're in pretty good shape. Okay? So moving forward is that confrontation with that shadow energy, that complex, with that anchor. And instead of turning back and continuing to maybe, drive the boat in a circle, or bounce between, the past and the future here and just always up against this wall, I feel like we're going forward. Okay? I think we're going forward with our growth here. Okay? Path of the Serpent, we have the Four of Pentacles. Four of Pentacles is a solid foundation. This is good routine, these are good habits. I think you're somebody that is, to me, this feels like we need the change, that we're ready, that we have been perhaps going in circles, okay? And we're ready to transcend this sort of baseline, lower level kind of foundational place, okay? And it might be asking, do we have our basic needs met? Do we have our water, shelter, food? If we got our water, shelter, food, we can work on the extra things. It's kind of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? If all the basic foundational needs are met, then there is nothing preventing us from ascending up this mountain and realizing this future that we want for ourselves. Okay? But if all of our basic needs are not being met, we're going to linger here at the lower levels, maybe aimlessly, maybe forever, because until we figure out what those needs are and why they're not being met, what our blockages, what the anchor is, what we have to get through in order to have that foundation finally become solid. Because this, when it's there and well established and strong, when we have that safety, security, and integrity of the foundational needs, this becomes almost like a trampoline, it becomes a springboard, a platform from which we can reach for the stars. This becomes that base where we can then push up to the top of the mountain, where we can climb all the way, And I think that part of that is this Two of Cups. Maybe this is self-love, divine love, platonic love, romantic love. Something from your past is still affecting you that has to do with love. And that is one of the basic needs. Maybe it's the feeling of being supported or being cared for, or having some kind of having that bond, feeling that sort of security, right? So something is sort of blocking that. Spirit wants you to do a gratitude journal. Yeah, a journal of the good things in your life, a journal of the things that you feel blessed to have in your life, and focus on those. Usually, a gratitude journal will say, count all your blessings, but count all your curses too. I think in your case, let's focus on the blessings. Let's be thankful for all the good things we have in our life. Let's not worry about what we don't have right now, because what we're trying to do is shore up this foundation. We're trying to make it as sort of as strong as possible. Okay? Because then once we have the four elements, we have the spiritual, the fifth element added to it, right? So you got the basic four, and then we've got the high priestess. Now the high priestess is always trying to lead you to your best life. Always wants to lead you to the Empress energy, to the big rock candy mountain, to the summit of the mountain, to your paradise, to your bliss, to your manifestation of whatever your goals are. It's the intuition that will never steer you wrong. But if we have some sort of disharmony inside of us, if this foundation is not strong, if we don't have all of our basic needs met, we're very often going to ignore or sabotage or interfere with the intuition, because this becomes a dysfunctional I don't want to say dysfunctional, but like too much disharmony inside of us that we end up self-sabotaging, okay? And that's the Eight of Swords. That we may have the plan, we may know what to do, and we may want to do it, but somehow this anchor, these complexes, this shadow part of us there's always something that sort of gets in the way and interferes with our progress up this mountain. We can't get past. There's the blockage. There's an impasse. There's a place we can't get past right now. And a lot of that has to do with the sheer luck, randomness, the variables of the world, but some of that has to do with us. Okay? And I think it's this anchor that's holding on to us that every time, it's like a dog on a chain. We got a dog here in the neighborhood that every time we drive by, the dog runs from the front porch to chase the car. The dog gets to the end of the street and it reaches the end of the chain and it gets yanked back. And that's sort of the same thing. If that dog could free itself from the chain, then it would run after the car and probably chew up the tires. Or the dog would realize that it's on a chain and wouldn't even bother chasing the car anymore. It would just sit there and watch us go by, sad, because it knows that it's futile to try chasing after our goals, because we're going to hit the end of the chain and we're going to be yanked right back to where we were. It's going to hurt. And I feel like that's kind of the feeling that we get a lot, is that we chase after these goals and something happens. We feel like we get to the end of a rope and we get just yanked back to somewhere in the middle or at the beginning or whatever, And that happens often enough that eventually we just stop chasing our goals because we know how it's going to turn out, right? But if we can disconnect the chain, if we can uproot it, maybe we can't take it off of us, but maybe we can pull the other part out of the ground or whatever, so it's not holding us back anymore. It's still heavy, it's still a weight on us, but at least it's not going to yank us back to the start every time we reach the end of it, you see? And I think the high priestess in the position of your environment, this is the signs and symbols and synchronicities in the external world that we need to follow. Instead of overwriting the intuition with our self-doubt, our ruminations, our worry, our pessimism, like all this kind of interference, we need to trust in our sort of internal compass that we can get to the top of this mountain, right? Because what we're doing here is we're kind of looking at the top of the mountain, and it's time to mobilize ourselves, right? Fire and earth. You got the spiritual electrical circuit of creation. What gets in the way of fire and earth coming together and creating creation, right? Well, it's the human heart and mind. That's what gets in the way. That's what is between these two cards. These two cards come together. We have manifestation. We have a completion of that electrical circuit. The heart and mind get in the way, right? The air and the water, the swords and the cups. In your case, it's a mixture of both swords and cups. It's the way the cups are perhaps influencing the swords, and together they create that chain, that anchor that's yanking us back to the beginning every time we get kind of we get to the edge. Freeing ourselves from that chain is allowing us to climb this mountain of manifestation, go after our goals, and to realize our goals. Okay, this is the card that has the vision of the future and says, okay, who am I? Where am I? What am I doing down the road, up the hill? I see that I have that vision, but more so, now I believe that I can actually get up there. Now there's nothing holding me back. Now I know that I have everything that I need. Now I feel like I am perfectly well equipped to climb up this mountain and get to my goal. So let's look at the mystery card. Maybe this is going to be a 10 of Pentacles. Maybe it's going to be the Empress. If you have a prediction, put it in the comments down below. Let's see what we have. A Judgment, a rebirth, a reawakening, the baptism by fire. This is a doorway. This is Spirit blowing a trumpet in your face. This is your guardian angel sounding the wake-up call, sounding the alarm, saying, wake up. Wake up and change your future. It doesn't have to be this way. There can be a moment where we feel like we can run after our goals, and there is no chain, there is no anchor that's going to yank you back. You're waking up to a new life here. I want to do a Divine Doorway card since this is a spiritual doorway. I feel like this is a big energy shift for you. This is the moment now where we do not let the past hold us back anymore. We are uprooting that chain, we're pulling up the anchor, or we're severing the anchor altogether. The distant dream. The distance calls your heart to roam free. As you dare dream it, so must it be. This is about you following that dream. Whatever your dream is at the top of that mountain, this is saying, look, this is that goal, that dream is calling you. Calling your heart to roam free, which means there's no chain. Like the dog on the chain can't roam free. It can for maybe 20 feet in a radius, right? But it's not really free. Only by getting rid of that chain, breaking the chain, or uprooting the source of that chain, where it's connected to the ground, only then can that dog really roam free. And I feel like that's kind of the metaphor for what's going on right now. Okay. Now we're going to do an extended reading as well if you want to stick around. There's a link in the corner. There's a link down below. New readings for Pisces, Thursdays and Sundays. Be sure to watch both readings. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do. These readings are totally free. They don't cost anything. Leave a comment and let me know where in the world you're watching from. I want you to know that you're the most important part of Dove and Serpent Tarot. I thank you, and I love you, and we're all in this together.